Hey everybody, it is James here, and I got some mail today, and we're going to go through this. I bought a nickel collection for $13, and we're going to see if I got a deal or not. All right, I just got this package in the mail here today, and a couple of weeks ago, I bought a nickel collection from an online site. I paid $8 plus $5 Canadian for shipping to get a nickel album from 1922 to 1960. Most of the coins are in there. There's some that are missing, I know that. We're not going to have the 1925 or 1926, but we're going to get in here and see. This is all taped up, you'll see here. And we're going to take a look at what we've got, the grades of the coins that we got, and we'll see if we got anything good. We'll try to see if we made out better than the $13, the $8 plus shipping, the $13 that I paid for this. So this should be lots of fun. All right, this is really awkward with one hand, but I want to do a live opening here. So I've used the scissors to get in there. I'm going to try to see if I can get in here with this bubble wrap and see if I can even still get the camera on it. There we go. Let's see if we can get in here into this. And what you can see is we have a pretty old album. There we go. Canadian Nickels, collection 1922 to 1960. And it's a pretty old album. It looks like it was purchased from Woolworths way back in the day. We'll get this off of here. We'll get the envelope out of here. And we're going to open this up for the first time and see what we've got. So, okay, let's see. We've got the 22, 23, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, all the way to 36. And then if I open up the other page here, we've got the George the 6th, so we'll see what year that is. But we've got everything, the 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, the Tomback and the V nickels there, 46, 47, 48, the low mintage 48, of course. And flip to the last page, and this is where we're missing some. We got the 49, the 50, the 51 commemorative. We're missing the 51 regular through 54, and then we've got the 55 through to the 1960. The 25 and the 26 near and far. The far 6 is the most valuable. The 25 is also really low mintage. You can see only 200,000 minted. And so we don't have those, but what we're going to do, we're going to look at these. We're going to see what the grade is of each of them, and we'll do a tally. We'll just see, was it worth my $13? All right, well, we're going to pull out this King George V here, the one that's showing the obverse. I want to do this really carefully because what I'd like to do is use this album. I was actually really looking for an album for my coin roll hunts to do an album fill, and I don't want to wreck the album, but I want to get all of these out of here. So I'm going to try to get this nickel out without damaging the paper on the book. And I don't know what the best technique is. Let's see if I can try. I might have to turn the camera off and get it out of there first. Okay, and I got it loose. I haven't looked yet. I'm going to flip it out here. I just don't want to punch the paper through. But there is our King George V. I got to get it, see if I can get that. Oh, and it's another 1922. So we got two of the first date nickels. That's pretty neat. So I'm going to line them up on the board here, and we're going to take a look. What we'll want to do to grade these really is look at the overall condition, but I'm going to use my handy Charlton guide that is going to give me the key to grading these King George V and 6th and Elizabeth nickels based on their condition. Much of it on these ones is really how much of the crown and the band of the crown you can see. That's your best hint. Other things like this one might have some scratches on it. A lot of these nickels aren't worth a whole lot, but we want to see, did I get my money's worth for my $13? And you can't really complain too much with a 99-year-old nickel having an extra one in there. So that's a good score to begin with. All right, I've loosened them all up, all of the, starting with these King George V nickels. I haven't looked at the reverse on any of them yet. So we'll just start with the 1922 and we'll flip it over and we'll see. And this is what I expect to see. Like many of these are probably going to be in fairly rough condition, like a G or maybe even a VG. That might be a VG, but I'm going to just put it up on the board here. That's my 1922. We'll see the 1923 here. It looks pretty good on the reverse. And the obverse, similar. I can see some scratches. Much of the band of the crown is worn away, but it's what we would have expected. So we'll put that up here. The 24 is interestingly one I don't actually have in my own collection. And I've pushed it down just enough that I can't quite get it. So okay, I've loosened up the 1924. I'm just going to take a peek at it. I was starting to say, this is one I don't actually have in my own collection. It's got a little bit of gunk on it. This one's a little bit better than the other ones. More of the band of the crown is there. But we'll set it down here. No surprise that we don't have the 25s and 26s. Those are the rare dates. And having a hard time getting this one up and out. Okay, so there we go. Okay, the 1927, again, some scratches. We'll flip it over. Again, this one's pretty decent. It's got some pretty decent detail on the band of the crown. And so we'll put that up here. We'll leave a little space to show that we're missing a couple there. The 1928. I like these albums. They show you what the mintages are, so you can get a good sense of what is low mintage or rare. Here's the 1928. It's really a two-handed job here, you know. Okay, there we go. So there's my 29. Some scratches by the date you can see. Again, a little bit better on the obverse with more of the detail on the crown. There's the 1930. That's a pretty nice looking coin, I have to say, that 1930 there. And we'll grab the 1931 here. Again, pretty par for the course, what we're seeing. This is pretty much what I was expecting. I wasn't expecting anything in mint state, not for $8 plus postage. And a little bit of corrosion or something I can see. Oh, it looks like I can just wipe it off. But again, it's some decent detail on the band of the crown. I'll go through what the grades are and what we're looking for to grade them. I'm not a professional grader, so as a hobbyist, I'm just taking the information that I can see there. A professional grading company might have something a bit different to say than I might. So I always suggest using a professional grading company to get a real grade. And there we go. Got the 33 out of there. Some scratches on the reverse. And here's the obverse. Again, pretty good detail in the crown. I can see the entire band of the crown. That's one of the things we'll be looking at. Okay, get this 34 out of here. And, it's got some wear for a 90-year-old coin here, I would say. But still looking pretty sharp. Grab this 35 out of here. That's looking pretty good. That's got some really good detail. That's got, again, the whole band of the crown for sure. We'll put that up there. Okay. And then our very last one, this is the last year for the George V nickels, the 1936. And I can see the full band there, so that's pretty decent. So what I'm going to do is come up with a grade for each of them, and then we'll look at what the value is in the latest Charlton guide. And I'll have a link to more information on the guide that I'm using and some of the grading and some of the resources that I use in case you want to look those up. Okay, I haven't started the process of grading these, but I wanted to look up the 1922s because we got two of them here. We can look to see if we got either of the varieties. And there are two varieties of the 1922. So I'm going to put it under the scope here and just pull it up on my screen. And there is a near S and far S. And so this I can see really clearly is the near S variety. The S is right close to the rim. So we can actually look here and see if our other 1922 is a different variety. And if it is, that would be really awesome. So I'm going to pull it under here and take a look. And we've got it up on here. And this is for sure the far S variety. You can see like the S there is about the same width of the letter away from the rim. And to just look at the other one again, the S is much, much closer to the rim. There's only maybe half the space. And so we lucked out and got two different varieties of the 1922. We got the near S and the far S, which is pretty wicked. So this is the resource that I'll be using to grade these coins. This is the Charlton Standard Catalog of Canadian Coins. I've got the 2020 version here. And at the front of each of these guides, you'll find a grading guide for each, in this case, it's each monarch, so each portrait. And that's really what we're going to be looking at. So I've got the George V grading guide here, and we're just going to basically scope these. We're going to take a look and see. So I'll take actually the first one here. This is the 1922. All right, this is the 1922, and so I've got it really nice up and close here. And as you're looking at the crown particularly, the grading guide for a VG says, well, we'll start with the G. Only a silhouette of George remains. All portrait detail is worn away. Well, that's clearly not the case here. He's got some scratches, but there's a lot of detail here. So a VG8, over 75% of crown, bands, and jewels are worn away. The hairline, beard, and mustache all blend together. The ermine collar of the coronation robe has lost all detail. And that's actually not the case here too. So for this coin, we're probably a little bit above VG and verging on fine. Fine is the highest points of the design have lost considerable detail. The central crown bands with jewels and pearls are 50% worn away. Again, all high points show considerable wear. I'd say we're probably not quite that good. It might be a little bit more than that. So this is going to be somewhere between a VG and an F. And that's really what I'm going to look at all of these coins against to see what we've got. I don't think we've got anything higher than an F, but if we do, I'll come and let you know. I've pulled up another resource here that I use also. And if you haven't got much experience in grading coins, the Coins in Canada website is actually fantastic. You can actually find a grading guide of a picture grading guide that will allow you to see examples of different coins in a grade. So if I click on the VG, here's an example, and that looks not too dissimilar from some of the coins that I've got. And I can scroll through other versions of what a VG might be. And if I want to see then what an F looks like, you can see that there are other versions with varying degrees of wear and different scratches. And if I pull up the VF, I don't know that I have any that are quite as good as that, maybe one or two, but this is the other resource that I'll use. I'll put links to both the Charlton guide, where you can get that, as well as the Coins in Canada website down below so that you can find these resources and use them yourself. I've pulled a few of these nickels aside, the 29, the 36, and the 32, because these are all ones that have different varieties as well. So I'm going to start by pulling the 29 under the scope, and there is a near S and far S version of this. This is, as you can see, this is the near S. It's really close to the rim. I've got the 1932 under the scope. This is another one that has a couple of varieties, and one is actually quite valuable. And what we're looking at is a near to or a far to. And what they're really looking at is how close or how far away is this to from the leaf. And the easy way to tell if you've got a near to or a far to is to draw a line from the point of the leaf over there to the point of the leaf over here. If the to is close to or touching that line, that imaginary line, it's the near to. This one is the near to. It's the far to that is way more valuable and far more rare. So unfortunately, that's not what I got here, but not at all what I was expecting, of course. But again, something else you'd want to check on your 1932s. The 1934 is another one that has the near S and far S variety. And the one we got here is very clearly the near S. The S is really close to the rim. And then the 1936, this is definitely the far S version of this coin. None of these varieties are significantly rare, but you can look for them in what you find or what you buy. It just happens that in my own collection, I had the other version of some of these, and so I've kind of rounded it out a bit now that I've got some different varieties. Is really cool. All right, well, I got my handy dandy spreadsheet here, and I've graded these coins just to the best of my ability. There were a bunch that I didn't think were as bad as a VG, the way that Charlton Guide describes them. So, but they weren't as good as a fine, so they were in the middle. I put them at a VG 10. There were a few that were in what I would call fine 12 condition, and the best one was the 1935, which I graded at a VF 20. And you might disagree with me, and if you think so, you can certainly put that in the comments. But even if I'm off by a little bit, what you can see, my tally for just these King George V nickels is $18.65. So there's really no question that I got a pretty good deal. I'll go through the rest of the coins in the album. We'll take a look. If there's anything that is particularly valuable, I'll let you know. Many of them are only going to be worth face value. We'll use the Charlton Guide here to go through and see what's in there. But in the grades that I think we're going to find, we're probably not going to see anything significantly valuable. But again, as I said, I was looking for an album for my coin roll hunts, and to come up, away with $20 in value, not including the book, and be able to look at a bunch of really cool old coins. I think this is a really good deal. I've opened up the rest of the album here. I've taken all the coins out, so I'll kind of set this aside for the moment. And I've laid them all out here. One interesting thing to note is that we got two 1937s. So just like with the King George V nickels, the coin that they used in the album to show the obverse of King George VI was in fact the oldest coin of the bunch. So that's really neat, because it's really frequent that you would get something that might be the newest or the easiest to come by, and you're just not going to come by a 1937 all that often these days. So no surprises here. There weren't a lot of great quality nickels. Most of these appear to be in pretty circulated condition. I think maybe the best one of all of them is this 1942 Tomback. It's got some great detail. It's got some kind of environmental damage with some markings on it. But if I look at the back, and the same thing here, if I look at the obverse, which is really the front, you'll see there's a lot of detail in the king's hair. That's really what we're using for grading. Of course, marks on the coin and toning and other things and scratches can have an effect. And this certainly is a coin that has had something going on to it. But this one's still got a fair amount of mint luster. So I'm going to go through all of these and see if any of them are would grade any higher than, pretty circulated, and if there are any that add value. But at the very least, we've got the face value of all these nickels, and of course, just the experience of being able to buy some pretty old nickels we wouldn't normally see. Okay, well, I've gone through and I've finished grading these coins here, just using the definitions in the Charlton Guide, and I'll just show really quickly what I've got here. Probably these grades might be just a little bit too generous. But you can see that my grand total at the bottom there is $35.85. I paid $8 plus $5 shipping, so $13 Canadian for these. Even if this is only worth half of what I've got here, I think I did pretty well. Let me know in the comments what you think. I really appreciate you watching my video, and so please like it, subscribe. I've got more videos coming out. I mentioned earlier, one of the things I'm going to do is, I think, use this nickel album to keep all of my coin roll hunting finds in my nickel hunts while I'm from my videos. So I'm going to see if we can fill this up as much as possible. I don't expect we're going to find too many of these King George V out in the wild. I know they're out there, but I've never actually found one. I've seen other folks have. But I think any one of these nickels here, we've got a pretty good chance of just getting them. People have them, they keep them, they get rid of them, and they can find their way into our change. And so you never know, and you're not going to find them unless you're looking for them. So thanks so much. Take care. Hope you enjoyed the video.